Our lives are busy and filled with tasks we need to accomplish daily to keep everything afloat. We often get caught up using complex scheduling systems that are supposed to make our lives easier. However, in reality, they actually complicate things more. Instead of increasing our productivity, these systems can slow us down. We can become so bogged down by our long to-do lists that it can be difficult to know where to start. Because of this, we continue to put things off, even when they're on our list of things to do. That's why on November 20th, 2020, I made a decision that would change my life, even though I didn't know it at the time. I took a basic 3x5 index card and wrote down 6 things, in order of their priority, that were important to me to do that day. Just 6 things. It felt manageable and immediately helped me feel a bit more in control of my day. But putting my tasks in priority order was only part of the solution to my problem. After all, it was nothing new, and I had certainly done that before. I needed something else to reinforce those priorities throughout the day. So I created a simple scoring system that would award me points for completing each task on the card, more points for items higher up on the list, and fewer points for items lower on the list. At the end of the day, I added up my score of how much I accomplished. Then, on the back of the card, jotted down a few notes about the tasks, what I had accomplished, and how I felt about my progress. The rest, as they say, was history. 1 year later, I saw significant progress in my professional and personal life. My productivity skyrocketed, all because of a simple note card. From there, I developed a 4-level system that has helped a lot of other people improve their productivity, transforming their endless to-do lists into something more manageable to help them live more intentionally, in harmony with their goals and values. Tracking my priorities on a simple note card helped me to live in a more intentional way. It changed my life, and now I want to help change yours. I call my 4-level system the Today System, and it's given me clarity that I couldn't find in other systems. In the Today System, I focus on 4 key elements. First, prioritization. It helped me to more effectively decide what's important each day, taking the time to establish clear priorities, so I could get the most critical tasks done, or focus on easy wins to build momentum. When you're in the moment, everything seems equally important, but the Today System asks you to stop and consider your priorities. Not everything can be number one. You need a starting point. Next, it gave me focus. The Today System provided a way to ensure, no matter where the day took me, I could go back to something concrete to remind me of what I should be trying to get done. The card was a simple reminder of what was important for me to make progress on. Third, the Today System helped motivate me. It was a way for me to get energized and keep going, even when it was difficult. It helped me focus on working toward what's important, which is critical as the day drags on. It's easy to lose motivation, especially as you've not been able to make as much progress as you'd hoped. However, the card helped keep me going. It almost made finishing all my tasks for the day a game. I look forward to seeing my score at the end of the day. Lastly, the system provides feedback. It's a way to keep score to measure my performance, so I can see where I need to make changes. I look at my cards daily to see where I fell short, and weekly to see if there were patterns. Then, I adjust the next week, setting myself up for success to get things done. Now, you may be wondering why I'm qualified to talk to you about productivity. Why take my advice on how to manage all the things you have to get done? The most helpful answer is that for the past 15 years, I have needed to juggle multiple demanding projects and careers at the same time. I have constructed and taught my own college courses, managed teams of people in the B2B sphere, been an involved husband and father, and continuously researched and written about self-improvement and personal productivity. I love the topic of personal productivity because learning about that topic has fueled the most significant improvements in my life. Everything I learn, I share with others so they can improve their lives, and this course is no different. I'm going to pass on what has worked for me, but understand that you should make tweaks to fit your life. No single system is for everyone, nor will it do the work for you. Instead, you're going to have to invest the time and energy to make whatever system you adopt into your own. Only then can you begin to make real changes in your life to drive better performance. What you're doing isn't working for you. That's why you're here. So approach this course with an open mind. The Today System can change your life, if you let it. Now, Let's get started learning more about productivity and ways we can increase it to achieve our goals, starting with choosing the right productivity system. We're all here because we want to be more productive. We realize that we need to make changes in our patterns to do so, but we may not know where to start. That's okay. That's where the Today system comes in. Whatever you're trying to accomplish in life, it can help you be more effective. No matter how skilled or knowledgeable you are, or aren't, when it comes to personal productivity, you can start using this system today and see it work for you. One way that people do this is by adopting a personal productivity system. A personal productivity system is something you do to help you be more productive. Some people have a simple to-do list, while others set a collection of reminders in their phones. The possibilities are endless, but ultimately you're taking action to make yourself more productive by putting in the work at the top to organize yourself throughout the day, week, month. You return to your system to keep yourself accountable for getting done what you told yourself you would. Personal productivity systems will surely help you, but not all systems work the same way. It may be difficult to know if you're choosing the right one for you, so there are a few things to keep in mind when you're trying to choose a personal productivity system. You should at least agree with its foundational ideas. Fundamentally, you agree with what the system is trying to accomplish, the output, and the primary forces that it leverages to achieve that output and goal. Now, when we talk about the output, we're referencing the end game. What's the ultimate goal of the system? And how does it align with your goals? What's the completed task you hope to achieve at the end of the system? If they aren't in harmony, the system isn't going to work in your life. It will become a chore to accomplish your tasks, even more so than it already is. Next, you want to look at the primary forces the system uses to help you achieve your goals. Do you have to set times to complete your tasks? Do you get constant reminders until you've made progress? How do these checkpoints help you achieve your goals? Sometimes, constant reminders can cause more stress. You feel pressure to accomplish your tasks, rather than a sense of satisfaction when the task is completed. It's all about perspective, but the wrong productivity tool can set up even more roadblocks, and that's not what you want. Instead, a personal productivity system is a tool. It should help you take all of the stuff in your life and organize it, taking it from unstructured chaos to more digestible tasks. A personal productivity system will help you see your tasks to completion, not stand in your way because of its strict rules. Each personal productivity system answers the question of how to go from chaos to completion differently. The Today system uses a note card, while others use bulleted lists, journals, contexts, calendars, and more. Because there are so many systems to choose from, it can be difficult to know where to start. That's usually where the complications come in. For example, if your table is wobbly, you likely have a loose screw. When you grab your toolbox, what tool are you going to reach for? You'll pick up a screwdriver, not a hammer. They're both great tools, but they have their own purpose. So you want to choose a tool based on the function it performs and the output you're looking for. You could use a hammer to fix a loose screw, but you would expend a whole lot more effort and perhaps do quite a bit of damage. You're better off going with a tool that gets the job fully done with the least amount of energy expended. The same can be said of productivity systems. When you're looking for the right system for you, you want to ask what function does it serve and what outputs are you looking for? How can it help you achieve your goals? Keep in mind that when it comes to productivity systems, defining the output can be a little bit trickier. The output of the system is going to be the completed task, but there are differences in how you can get there. So you need to ask yourself the following question. What do I need more of in the space between the undefined things in my life and the completed work? Asking yourself that question can help you understand the kind of support you need to thrive when it comes to productivity systems. Know that each person's answer is going to be different. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, as well as likes and dislikes. We all move at different paces and have different energy levels and lifestyles. Every one of those factors matters when it's time to choose a productivity system that you'll stick with. If anything is out of whack, you'll likely abandon the system, returning to old habits that may or may not have served you well in the past. For example, one of the most popular productivity methods on the market today is the bullet journal method. This is a great productivity system for those people who like recording and reviewing more information, leaving space to reflect on their tasks and life in between all of the undefined stuff and the completed work. The bullet journal method provides you with a way to log what happens each day. It lays out your schedule for the month and keeps an eye on what's ahead further in the future. It also sets aside time to think through projects, brainstorm, and link different sessions together. This method provides you with important information while still providing a way to reflect on it, so you can best integrate it into action. Very quickly, I knew the system wasn't a good fit for me. Initially, things went very well, but after a while, it stopped working for me. Once it stopped working, I reflected on why. I realized that while it helped me write things down more often in real time, it didn't help me with the areas I struggled most with. The bullet journal method didn't provide the focus, prioritization, motivation, and feedback I needed to make progress in my to-do list. My weak point was that I wasn't good at sticking with my priorities, and I quickly lost focus each day, which was exacerbated as I filled my journal with notes and other thoughts. I also had trouble migrating unfinished tasks and new tasks over to the other lists that were part of the system. When I started using the Today system, the index card gave me everything I needed and more. The scoring system was the icing on the cake because it turned prioritization and follow through into a game. It helped me challenge myself to be more accountable to my intentions and to achieve my goals, so I could rack up the points each day. As I began to consistently complete my tasks and get more stuff done throughout the day, I built a little more complexity into the system. I flexed until I had the system I needed to keep myself motivated and accountable. Years later, it still works for me. But why? When I first started trying to use a productivity system, I was anxious to find an app or physical tool that could serve as the all-in-one repository. I wanted one place where everything went: my tasks, notes, planning, and calendar. I was looking for a one-stop shop because if I had a bird's eye view of my life, then I couldn't help but focus on making progress. In my mind, doing all of these things in the same place was ideal. After all, why should I have different tools for my work when I could just have one? I was focused on getting everything I needed into a single tool, and I was disappointed when I couldn't find what I needed. But the reason I couldn't get a tool to work for me was that I was wrong in thinking that a tool was what I needed. When I continued to look at my own habits, I realized that notes, project planning, and tasks don't belong in the same place. They're different types of things, and by forcing myself to put them in the same place, I was setting myself up for failure. First, tasks are actionable items. They're the things that you want to get done in a given day, week, or month. On the other hand, notes, project plans, or brainstorms are not actionable, so you shouldn't try to mix them with actionable items. If you're anything like me, you'll struggle to separate these elements in ways that make sense, that you can manage and break down into tools. Now, it's important to recognize that notes, project plans, and brainstorming sessions often produce actionable items. They lead to the tasks you'll set, but they in themselves are not actionable. If it makes sense to keep them separated by function, then it's likely you may want to use separate tools to manage them. Next, you want to consider time. The things you need to act on today should be separated from the things you need to act on later. Even if you're not settling up a complete ordered list based on priority, it's critical you separate your tasks. If you don't, you run the risk of distracting yourself from the most important tasks at hand. Things that are timely will fall through the cracks as you manage your jumbled list. You need to separate today's focus from everything else. You can still have long-range goals, but they shouldn't blend in with discrete, daily tasks. That's why the simple 3x5 index card works so well. I know, it can sound wasteful or gimmicky. After all, who has note cards lying around? But it worked for me, and if you give it a chance, I'm confident it can work for you too. The single note card each day helps separate today from every other day. It helps you focus on the tasks at hand, separating today's tasks from tomorrow's, next week's, and so on. It helps you focus on what you need to accomplish. It helps keep the actionable items that are important for today separate from those that can be completed later. The Today system forces you to separate the non-actionable notes and everything else from your actionable tasks for today. And that single, physical card represents that separation. And that separation establishes your focus for the day. It's a tangible reminder of your commitments to yourself for the day, and they become non negotiable. The point system reminds you of what you have to lose by ignoring that. It really makes a difference in your ability to follow through and complete your tasks. Using one card a day also allows you to relax more. You're not pressured or preoccupied with checking more boxes or crossing more things off a long list. Once your tasks are done for the day, you can relax. You don't need to find more activities to do to keep you engaged. Instead, you can relish in your accomplishments, comfortable in the fact that you achieved all you planned to, or those within your power for the day. You can still get more done if you like, but that will just be a nice bonus. Extra credit, if you will. The ultimate goal of personal productivity systems should always include some form of relaxation. We're not robots. We need downtime to recharge. Relaxation not only feels great, but it also makes it easier for you to do two very important things: focus and generate power. When you're focused, you can more effectively make sense of what's happening in your life. You can derive clarity from the chaos, and you'll start to separate the signal from the noise. As a result, you can better prioritize, strategize, and make important decisions with a clear mind. You're not distracted by the noise when you have a clear plan in mind. Focus is important, but you also need to have the motivation to bring things to completion. You need to be able to generate power in order to push yourself through roadblocks or encourage others to grow. Productivity systems help you conserve power to use on the most important things, the tasks that are often the most time-consuming and require the most effort. If your productivity system is preventing you from doing these two things, it's probably time to find a new one. Choosing the right system will also help you consistently relax. It doesn't add more stress to your life. Instead, it helps you organize and make sense of the chaos in meaningful ways. You'll feel more comfortable with the tasks at hand because you see a clear path ahead, which means you can relax and be more present from moment to moment, confident that you've paid appropriate attention to the important things that require it. In this unit, we discussed how to find the right productivity system for you. Finding a system that agrees with your fundamental beliefs, works with your strengths and weaknesses, has outputs that make sense for you and your life, and uses the right forces to achieve the objectives that make sense to you. Identifying a system that flows with your lifestyle and mindset is the best way to ensure you stick to it. For me, obviously, that system is the Today system, and in the next unit, we'll discuss how to set up the system to best support your increased productivity. But before we do, I want to complete a quick activity. Take out a notebook or piece of paper and jot down what you hope to accomplish by setting up a personal productivity system. Do you want to stop missing important deadlines? Maybe gain some control over your life overall. Perhaps you simply want to become more organized in all aspects of your life. Whatever your motivation is, write it down. Now, I want you to consider some discrete tasks you can do in the next few days to help you get there. These can be things you've used in the past, or new ones you'd like to try. Do you want to write your tasks down more? Organize them by project or day? In a perfect world, how will organizing your life make a meaningful difference in your day-to-day? Throughout the course, I want you to keep these ideas in mind. Put them somewhere you can consistently reference them, because as we move through the course, I want you to see if your goals change or if the system is helping you achieve your goals in new ways. The next unit is all about setting up the Today system, so see you there. How to pick the right productivity system. What works for you may not work for someone else, and that's okay. It's natural because we will all approach problems a bit differently. The Today system is designed to be easy, helping you achieve your goals without stress and pressure. It breaks things down into a more manageable system, all designed around the simplest tool, a single 3x5 note card. So, how do you set it up? Before you get started, I want you to grab your note card and write today's date on it at the top. This is important. After all, this is today's card. Next, along the right edge, I want you to make two columns, only large enough to fit a single number. Label them P and A at the top of each column. P stands for the possible points for the day, while A is the actual points received by completing tasks. In the bottom row of the card, in the center, make a small box. That's where your score for the day will go. Now that your card is prepared, I want you to take a look at your calendar. If you don't have a calendar that holds the events you need to attend, think through what time sensitive events you have scheduled for today. It helps most to list them out, along with how much time each will take. Before you start filling out your card, you need to understand how many tasks you can realistically complete in a day. You want to set yourself up for success. So if you're in back-to-back meetings before ferrying the children to their practices and games, you likely won't have time to get a lot done, perhaps just 2 or 3 tasks. So being effective today becomes all about working within the constraints of your time available. In order to do this, I like to use what I call the rule of 1.25 items per hour of free time. So if you only have 2 hours of free time in a day, multiply 2 by 1.25, and you get 2.5. You can round that up to 3. So you should only write down 3 items for the day. If you write down more, you likely stress yourself out because you probably won't have time to complete them all. You may feel discouraged before you even begin, which is exactly what the system is designed to avoid. Once you have an idea of how many tasks you can complete today, flip your card over to the blank, unlined backside. You'll get back to your table in a minute, but I want you to jot down what you want to accomplish today. Don't worry about ranking them yet. Just get everything down. Even if you have a completely free day, your card should include no more than 9 tasks. They should be the most important items that you want to do today. The Today system or personal prioritization systems aren't about overloading yourself. Instead, it's about making sure you set yourself up for success, accomplishing what you need to do in a given day. Your prioritization may be different than someone else's, which is completely normal. Even if you have the same tasks, someone may rank cleaning their garage over vacuuming the house. It's all about perspective, so give yourself grace. As you consider which items to list on a given day, you should favor push items over pull items. Push items are things that you need to expand effort to make happen. Pull items are things that happen with little conscious effort on your part, whether due to habit or circumstance. Perhaps they've already been set up, so it takes little effort or motivation for you to do so. Sure, you may feel accomplished when it happens, but you didn't have to do anything to make it happen. For example, maybe you have a long-standing meeting with one of your colleagues on Mondays. Don't add that to the list because it's already been set up. You've already allocated the time and energy to making it happen. All you have to do is show up. That's a pull item. To help with your prioritization, you need to work on push items. These are things that require time and energy to do. They're the things that you are most likely to put off because they're too hard. Perhaps they're just an inconvenience. It doesn't matter why, but start investing energy in confronting your tasks head on, and the Today system will help you build healthy and productive habits that encourage active participation and productivity in your day-to-day lives. Now that you have your list, I want you to flip your card back over. On the first line, write the number 1 on the left-hand side of the card. Now, in that first slot, I want you to write the most important task that you can do today. This is the one that will make the most impact on your life and your most important goals. The first slot is reserved for the item that you'll breathe the biggest sigh of relief once it's done. Move to the next line, number it 2, and start all over. Repeat the steps until you have no more tasks to do. But remember, the max you should set for any given day is 9. Not only is this because you'll run out of space on your note card, but it's also because you want to take care not to overstretch yourself. You deserve downtime. The goal of personal prioritization systems is not to make yourself a robot, endlessly productive 24/7. Instead, it's to give you time to relax without any looming tasks hanging over your head. Next up, we focus on the points. In the P column, I want you to assign possible points for each task. The number of points each item gets is dependent on the number of items on your list. For example, if you wrote 7 tasks, then task number 1 should receive 7 points, task number 2 gets 6 points, and so on. At the bottom of the P column, tally up the total points available for the day. For this example, it would be 28 total points. After you're done, take a look at your card. Really internalize what you've written down. Imagine you've completed everything on this list. Will you feel good about what you've accomplished? Close your eyes and take a deep breath. If the answer is yes, then you've completed one of the hardest parts. Now, you just need to do the work. It may be difficult, but I want you to commit as much as possible to doing only what's on that card, nothing more and nothing less. This will be your guide for the day, so commit to looking at it throughout the day for help on what to do next. Whatever else pops up during the day, be it simple distractions or a supposed urgent task, ask yourself if it's worth possibly losing points on your score. That will help you more effectively stick to priorities. I've always found that batching and time blocking can help me achieve my tasks throughout the day. If there are a few small tasks that are similar, concerning the same project, write them all down on the same line. Sure, you will deprive yourself of crossing multiple items off the list, but you'll start to batch things together for quality, not quantity. Also, you can time block items on your list. For example, say you have a large project you're working on. Instead of saying organize the closet or work on the presentation, commit to working on it for a certain amount of time. Say you'll spend 50 minutes on it. Be specific in the time you allot for long-range projects. Even if you're able to only work on it for 25 minutes, you can still award yourselves partial points. I understand that life happens, so if something unexpected comes up, of course, you need to make allowances for that. Give yourself grace when more important needs arise during the day. As you go throughout the day, cross off items as you complete them. And don't forget to award yourself points in the A column. Remember, B was the potential points available, while the A column is when you actually get the work done. If you made an honest effort at a task, but only half the work was done, then you can earn half the points. Going back to the earlier example, if your number one task for the day was to work 50 minutes on a presentation, but you were only able to complete 25 minutes, then you've earned half points for the day. With 7 tasks, that would give you 3.5 points. Productivity shouldn't be all or nothing, so always give yourself points for making an effort, even if you didn't complete the task. It's harmful to view personal productivity in black and white. Negative thinking like that can derail so much of our productivity efforts. Keep going throughout the day, crossing things off your list. Once you're complete, or you've run out of time in the day, you're ready to start calculating your batting average. But before you do, I want you to take a moment to congratulate yourself. Whether this is your first day, or you've been using the Today system, or something similar, for a while now, it's still important to celebrate the wins. Focus on what you accomplished before identifying areas of opportunity that you can improve on tomorrow. Done basking in your moment of glory? Now it's time to see how you did. Add up your actual points and place that number at the bottom of the A column, right next to the total of the P column. Now take A divided by P and write the number in the box at the bottom center of your card. It should be a decimal number between 0 and 1. The highest possible score is 1.000, but there are many days we won't achieve that score. And that's okay. Remember, it's about relieving anxiety about improving your productivity, not about beating yourself up for not doing everything you set out to. We're all only human. Sometimes our ambition in the morning doesn't recognize our afternoon selves, and that's okay. The score is there to show us that that's what happened. We want to shoot for at least a 0.750 score. That means we followed through 75% of the way on our commitments for the day, which is very good odds. Lastly, I want you to create a spreadsheet where you track your batting average each day. You can also use a score sheet I've created at thetodaySystem.com/scoresheet. List it by date and average. Look back on it in a week or month to see if there are trends. 1 week, did you have low scores? What were the tasks included on those days that you failed to accomplish? Are there ways you can break them up to be more manageable? On weeks that you do really well, are there areas you can challenge yourself more? The data doesn't lie, and interpreting it can help us understand more about our personal productivity from an objective level. If we set ourselves up to think that anything less than 100% is a failure, then we are setting ourselves up for failure. I want the Today system to be a personal productivity system that allows space for reality. Sure, we want to accomplish all our tasks for the day, but sometimes it's not possible. Or maybe we overcommitted ourselves while we were planning the day. As you continue in the Today system, you'll understand more about your limits, where they stand, and how you can push them a little to improve your productivity. This is a marathon we're running, not a sprint. Today might have gone terribly, and you need to accept that. But what can you learn from it? That's the real question. And what you learn today can be used tomorrow in your next card. Productivity isn't a one-time, all-or-nothing game. It's an iterative and progressive process. In this unit, we talked about setting up your note card. There are 6 basic steps. You create your list of a maximum of 9 tasks you want to accomplish in a day. Then assign points to each task based on importance, using the scoring system explained in the unit. Once your list is complete, commit to only working on what's on the card unless something unforeseen and more important comes up. As you complete each item, cross it off the list and award yourself points for it. At the end of the day, calculate your points by dividing your actual points by the total points possible. Track your points in a spreadsheet over time and reflect back to it and your cards occasionally to understand more about why you did well or had room for improvement in certain weeks. Before we move to the next unit, I want you to complete a quick exercise. You're going to set up your first Today card. Grab a note card and on the online back side, list up to 9 things you want to accomplish, in any order. If it's at the end of the day, you can set one up for tomorrow. The important thing is to list your tasks. Next, take a look at your calendar, or if you don't have one, reflect on how many free hours you have available to work on the items on your card. Multiply that number by 1.25 and round down. That's the maximum number of items you should aim to get done in the day. Now, flip over your card and order the items in importance. Award the points possible based on the number of tasks. Look at your card. This is your game plan for the day. Now, get to work on getting them done. In the next unit, we'll talk about how to handle those drop-ins that can disrupt your productivity flow. How to pick the right prioritization system for you, and how to set up your Today system card. When everything goes according to plan, we feel great. We feel accomplished. But what happens when things go off the rails? How do we handle those drop-in priorities? That's what this unit is all about. So let's get started. No matter how much we plan our days out, there is always the possibility that something else will pop up. You may get an email or an unexpected doorbell ring, and then something you weren't prepared for is suddenly dropped in your lap. I call these drop-ins. These are the things that weren't on your card today. Maybe they weren't important enough to make the cut, or they weren't on your radar at all. However, something changed, and now they're demanding your attention. It happens, but you need to develop a way to handle it without missing out on completing the important items on your card. It starts with asking yourself a series of questions. Is this new thing more important than anything on your card? If it seems that way, why wasn't it already on your radar? Is it something that you could have or should have anticipated before filling out your card today? Is it something that changed dramatically over the past day or so? These questions are not meant to confuse you. Instead, they're meant to help you gain a deeper understanding of the drop-in items that have threatened to overturn the commitments you've made for the day. I developed a handy flowchart to help bring my clarity. I start by asking myself, is this more important than something on my card? If the answer is no, it's easy. Simply don't do it. If the answer is yes, you're going to have to dig a little deeper. If yes, first ask yourself where it should go on your priority list and why it didn't go on the card in the first place. Perhaps the answer is that you didn't think enough about your list, or that something changed dramatically since you made your card. If it's the first option, challenge yourself tomorrow to think more as you make your list. If it's the second, give yourself a little grace. It's impossible to anticipate everything. Ultimately, your goal is to maximize the stability of your system while minimizing the drop-ins. And just like with the daily score, you'll never achieve perfection, but aim for better than 75%. If drop-ins happen regularly, use them as an opportunity to change how you work on your card. You may need to spend more time thinking about what kinds of drop-ins could happen, and give them the space they need on the card. There are a few ways that I recommend handling things that pop up: open spaces, proactive planning, and the extra credit system. First, let's focus on open spaces. This could be by putting fewer items on the card, so you literally have space to complete drop-in items. If you max yourself out each day with 9 tasks, there's no room to write anything else down. Imagine that you're working on a very important project. You know that things are going to pop up throughout the day that you didn't anticipate, especially since you're working with others. For this reason, you'll want to be flexible and give yourself wiggle room for your plan for the day. Keep open spaces on your card that you can fill in when something comes up. You could also try to anticipate possible drop in items by putting an item on the card that could help nip it in the bud. Just put the name of some project that a possible drop in is related to on a list, and anything related to that project can fit into that category. Keep it broad so it's all encompassing, and you'll feel less stress when the tasks pop up because you'll be getting points for attending to them. It is important not to abuse this open ended tasking because it will become a catch all for poor planning. Many times, if we would have planned a project better, we could have avoided things popping up at the last minute. We could have been more proactive, acting sooner to anticipate tasks. If you find yourself consistently leaving open spaces or filling them with broad tasks, challenge yourself to devote more time to planning. Investing resources in the beginning to planning helps the project run more smoothly in the end. It's a delicate balance because at some point you just want to act. However, the better you can get at planning, the more productive you will be. Next up is the extra credit system, a throwback to your school days. This suggestion actually came from the Today System community, and I loved it so much that I integrated it officially into my curriculum. This only works if you have extra spaces in your list, and as you add more items, these extras count as much as the last item on the list, if it's 6 items or longer. If your list is shorter, then they're worth a flat 5%. It layers on a little complexity when you calculate your averages. When you have 5 items or less, you want to divide the points earned by the possible points and add 5%, or 0.050, for each additional list item. If you have 6 items or more, add 1 point for each extra item to the points you earned, and divide that number by your possible points. So, for example, say you have 5 items on your list for the day, and you get that dreaded drop in. You have to complete it, so you add it to your list. At the end of the day, I'd gotten a 13.5 out of 15 points for the day, totaling a 0.900 average. Then, I added 0.05 to my total score to account for the drop in. At the end of the day, my score was 0.950. Adding the small percentage is not enough to make a huge difference in your overall average. However, it is enough to help you get some well-deserved credit for taking care of the things that just fall into your lap throughout the day. If you have to do them, you should earn credit for them. The Today system helps you learn each day, so if you're getting low scores because you're constantly getting drop-ins, it's time to reconsider your tasks. Are there things you can change on tomorrow's card to help set you up for success? Don't be afraid to listen to what your shortcomings are telling you. These strategies may not be enough to make a huge difference, but they will allow you to earn well-deserved credit for taking care of the things that just fall into your lap during the day. In this unit, we talked about how to handle drop-in tasks, the tasks that you don't anticipate but suddenly become your priority. Now, you have to find space for them. Sometimes you can leave space for them, or add a catch-all category to your Today card. If you do, make sure to give yourself extra credit. If you're doing the work, they deserve to be factored into your batting average. Before we move on to the next unit, I want you to do an exercise. I want you to consider the last drop-in task that you were given. It could be a deliverable for a client, or simply a question that required research to answer. Whatever the drop-in task was, I want you to keep it at the forefront of your mind. Now, walk through the task. Was there anything you could have done to anticipate the task? How could you plan better to make space for it in the future? This question doesn't always have an easy answer, and that's okay. The more you get comfortable with the Today system, the better you'll be at anticipating drop-ins and creating your lists to make space for the unknown. After all, the goal is to become better at productivity, and improving your prioritization skills is a great secondary benefit, so don't be afraid to push yourself. In the next unit, we'll talk about how reflection is essential to proper prioritization and how it's essential to improving your productivity because you allow yourself to learn from and sit with your choices. You're learning how to set yourself up for success. We've covered a lot of ground in this course. From discussing the importance of a productivity system, to setting up your own Today System cards, to learning how to deal with drop ins, you've come a long way. Hopefully, you're starting to feel good about your personal productivity. You're learning how to set yourself up for success. We've talked throughout the course about looking back at your scores and trying to understand where any breakdowns occurred so you can do better next time. You need to take time to reflect on where you started, what you've accomplished, and where you're going. And that's what this unit is all about. We're almost done with this course, but your journey has only just begun. When many people start to learn about productivity, there's a harmful fallacy that personal productivity systems are just about getting tasks done. Hopefully, after progressing through this course, you've learned that that's just half the story, if not less than half. Real productivity isn't just about doing the things that need doing. It's also about reflecting on how well you did at getting those things done, or what areas you have for improvement. If you didn't complete what you planned to, then you take that information and learn from it. You plan for the future based on what you've learned. Reflection should be a regular part of your personal prioritization system, whether you use the Today System or not. True growth and learning involve reflection, reappraisal, reordering, and preparation, but it's often easier in theory than it is in practice. Reflection can be a difficult task. It's not a regimented or simple way to do it. It requires being vulnerable with yourself. And that's not always easy. It's hard to admit we can't do it all, or we plan poorly. We want to bury our feelings in the sand where no one can see them, but sandy roads. The things we try to repress or hide often rear their ugly heads when we least expect them, so it's best to face them through reflection head on. Reflecting requires an honest evaluation of what happened, as well as a commitment to learn from it. Because it's so personalized, it can be difficult to know where to start. There's not a single process that can help facilitate it, so you need to experiment with what works best for you. If you can find a process that you can turn into a habit, it will change your life. It will help you take those to-do lists, whether completed or not, and turn them into something much more useful. So let's get started making reflection a habit. The Today System makes the difficult task of reflection simpler with a spreadsheet. I know, spreadsheets may not be your thing, but I promise that the simple tool will help you bring clarity to the chaos that can be your list. My spreadsheet includes the week number, my batting average, the change week over week, and 3 prompts. The first 3 columns are straightforward. You want to track the week you're in. Average out all your batting averages for the week and note them. Then, track how much your batting average has changed since last week. This gives you a number that helps you understand how well you did in setting intentions for your days and following through with them. If you have lower scores, you know you have opportunities to improve, whether it's setting more realistic goals or listing fewer based on your available time. Next up, I like to leave room for notes to help me track my reflections for the week. It's best to do them at the end of the week so you don't forget. In the first column, leave space for general notes about the week. In this space, just write your thoughts and feelings about the week. Go wild. It can be as long or as short as you want. You can keep it simple or go into detail. It doesn't have to be structured. You just need to get all your thoughts and feelings out on paper or the screen. The next column should be named Why the Change. Is it good or bad? If there's a significant dip or jump in this week's score versus last week, explain why. If you don't know why, now's your time to start thinking. You want to uncover the mistakes you want to correct for next week or best practices to solidify your personal prioritization system. Remember, it's not about getting a perfect batting average. Instead, it's about understanding what's standing in your way or what's working well that you can apply to the next week. The last column should be named, What should I do in the coming week based on this? For this column, I want you to simply answer the question, but with a twist. Instead of writing another paragraph, I want you to use a few action phrases. Talk about the specific actions you'll try to take in the coming week to improve, how you use the cards to get or stay productive. These should be based on what you wrote in the other 2 columns of reflection for the week. For example, if you notice your brain isn't active in the morning, Try mapping out your card the night before to see if it drives clarity. If you notice drop-ins are taking too much of your time for a specific project, prioritize time blocking for that. Create action items that will set you up for success in the week to come. If you're feeling bold, try something outside the box. There's no reason you can't try new ways to tackle your productivity, so be creative. You're the one in charge of your productivity, so it's time that you take your tasks by the horns and show them who's boss. This spreadsheet should build on the existing spreadsheet that you use to score your daily batting averages. This spreadsheet should build on the existing spreadsheet that you use to score your daily batting averages. If there's something you want to keep top of mind, keep a notes column in that area as well. It's all about keeping yourself accountable and honest, and taking notes will help you remember what you were feeling at that moment, whereas time will soften the feelings. Now, just because this spreadsheet works for me, doesn't mean it will work for you, and that's okay. Experiment with other questions or tools. At the end of the day, you just want to be able to track and reflect on your progress in meaningful ways. One of my favorite quotes is by Andrew Jackson. He said, "Take time to deliberate, but when the time for action arrives, stop thinking and go in." Basically, there's a time and a place for reflection, but eventually, you're going to have to take action and put your money where your mouth is. It's not always easy to see the threshold between thinking and taking action. On the one hand, you don't want to spring too quickly into action, because acting too quickly without thinking things through can end up causing problems. You may end up doing the wrong thing, or doing more than you need to. You're being reactive instead of proactive. On the other hand, you don't want to suffer from paralysis by analysis. You don't want to spend too much time thinking about all the possibilities and the tiny details that can keep you from doing anything at all. I know I've been rightly called out for tending to get way too deep into the weeds. I can become so ensnared by the what-ifs that I never end up starting a course of action. So far in this unit, we've talked about the importance of reflection, but that is only half the battle. You also need to translate your learnings into actions. And here's how you can start developing the skill of knowing when it's time to take action. That comes through preparation. I know that sounds counterintuitive. You need to think more in order to learn when to take action, but hear me out. This is where the weekly reflection process comes in. When I reflect, deliberate, and plan, it sets me up to act more decisively and intelligently in the week to come. It makes filling out each day's card easier because I've already reflected and decided on what deserves my attention for the week and how I'm going to go about accomplishing it. In other words, reflecting and deliberating for longer each week means less deliberating each day, which means quicker decision making and more effective action. Regular reflection sessions are a must, but in order for them to be successful, there's a minimum amount of ground you need to cover in those sessions. Lack of structure can prevent you from making any progress, and I found the best success when I focus on the past and present first, then the future. You've already used the 3-question prompt for reflection on your performance and identified habits to cultivate in the coming week. But that's all more general stuff. Now is the time to look at the specific tasks you need to tackle in the coming week. In order to set yourself up for the coming week effectively, you need to know 2 higher-level things above and beyond normal tasks, goals, and projects. With a grasp of those 2 higher-level things, you can then build the most effective tool for planning your tasks of the week, the Simplified Scheduling List, or S3 for short. Just filling out a card with the most important items to take care of and aiming for a high score each day was a huge help for me. But it was even more helpful to have a list of tasks lined up that I could put on my cards each day. You could use a standard next actions list, unordered and perhaps with contexts, like at office or at phone. But for me, that proved to be too overwhelming. I needed a way to queue up the things I should be working on first, things to work on after that, and further down the line. So I built what I call a simplified scheduling system, or S3. A simplified scheduling system is a list of all the things you want to get done, separated into 4 temporal categories. Today Plus, which feeds the card each day. These are the items you deem most important to try to get done today or tomorrow, If you don't think you'll be able to get them all done today, next few days. These are the items that should get attention during the next few days. They should move up as items get onto the today card and get completed. This week, these items should get taken care of in the next 7 days or the current week, however you define that. Next week and after. This category is more of a parking lot for things that need to be on your radar, but not quite yet, at least until other items this week are taken care of. If you don't have a list of projects already, the S3 is simply your place to dump all the things you need to do as you become aware of them. As you complete items, or as they become more important, move them up the schedule. As things become less important, move them down. It helps to review the S3 regularly. How you gauge where items need to be in the list is up to you, but don't let that list go stale. It should reflect, at any given time, the relative order of importance of tasks in the queue. If you already have a list of your major goals and projects, the time after your 3-question reflection is the time to review it. Make sure your projects align with your goals. This may be difficult, but you need to eliminate as many projects that you can that don't align with your goals. Get rid of projects that aren't relevant anymore. If you're not ready to ditch them fully, simply put them on a separate list for later. Later can be next week, next month, or even next year. Just make sure you set them aside so they don't get confused with your immediate priorities. Now that you have a clear mind, I want you to set up a list of tasks that will serve the projects on your list for the next week or so. Spend time in the now with your goals to feel grounded in your deliverables. Lastly, I want you to plan for the near future. With your head clear and calm from reflecting and reviewing, it's time to start planning. This can be more free-form or structured, depending on how you plan best. It's up to you, but I found the following tips to help keep me on track. Look at your coming week on the calendar for blocks of time that are already spoken for. These could be long-standing meetings or focus time. Now, to look for areas you can block off, to work on your big goal-serving projects. I also want you to add actions to your task list for any things on your calendar that you should be preparing for. Do you have a performance appraisal coming up? Do you have a huge meeting you're organizing? Be proactive in adding tasks to get prepared for the week. I promise the feeling of calm control you get alone will be worth it. Now, separate your task list into what you'd like to tentatively tackle during the next week. If there's anything that can wait until next week, make note of it, but don't plan for it this week. You don't need to push yourself if you have time. Otherwise, you'll quickly burn out. Reflection is highly personal, and you learn so much about yourself and how you work if you spend time reflecting throughout the week. And pairing that reflection with a planning and preparation session will put that icing on the cake of an excellent week to come. I've found that weekly sessions work best for me, but everyone has their own rhythm. You may need more sessions, or you may need less during certain times. Listen to your mind and body. You'll be able to sense when you need reflection to help prioritize your life. When you feel like things are coming at you faster than you can make decisions, you need to take some time to breathe and reflect. When you're trying to decide what's important to do today, but your mind is all over the place, unsure of what matters most, you need reflection. It can be tempting to push through to just get more done. However, resist the urge. With a little space to reflect and plan, even if it's just a few minutes, you'll start to gain clarity. Now, in a perfect world, you want to reflect before you start to feel this way, but that's not always going to happen, and that's okay. Emergency sessions serve their purpose, but if you can have a standard appointment to reflect and plan, you may be able to avoid these moments of panic. I encourage you to make time in your week to do this deliberation, to reflect on all the stuff that's nagging you, to act or holding you back. Decide which things deserve your time and attention, and commit to stop letting the rest pull at you. Keep taking moments of reflection for yourself until you feel good, as good about what you're not doing each day as you do about what you are doing. As we've discussed, reflection is an extremely important part of the process. But what do you do once you've finished reflecting? Each day, we have decisions to make, and how do we decide which tasks get our time, attention, and energy? With the limited resources that you have, what tasks get a piece of you, and how big of a piece do they get? Answering this question is not something that should be done too quickly. Otherwise, you'll get a to-do list that's full of things that you're never going to do. You'll procrastinate, and as the list gets longer and longer, you'll welcome distractions. You'll end your day unproductive because you just don't know where to start with your tasks. I've found that there are 4 categories of tasks, and deciding which to put on your list every day comes down to paying more attention to some, but not others. I like to categorize those tasks as push, pull, goal-serving, and non-goal-serving tasks. We talked earlier in this course about the push and pull tasks, but as a reminder, push tasks are tasks that you don't do automatically. They aren't habits, but they may be actions that you want to become habits eventually. Push tasks may be difficult, not well-defined, or even scary. They're the things that have to be on a list in front of you in order to get them done, though you'll still find ways to procrastinate. You might not want to do push tasks, but you know you need to. They're the reason that to-do lists exist. Pull tasks, on the other hand, are the opposite. They're the items that happen because of habit. They take little effort or motivation for you to complete, so they often find their way on to-do lists as quick wins. Your tasks should not include more push tasks than pull tasks because they require more effort. You feel better about getting push tasks done. And getting points for finishing push tasks ensures that the points remain meaningful to you, rather than an award for doing something you would have done anyway. That's not to say there isn't a time and a place for pull tasks. You've already put the work in to make them a habit, so you can reap the benefits. Sometimes it's best to work smarter, not harder. Goal-serving tasks are tasks that move you closer to a goal of yours, and these are tasks that should be prioritized. When you're considering your goal-serving tasks, I want you to be careful. We can often call things goals that really aren't. As a reminder, a goal is simply an outcome that you desire. However, many times we desire an outcome only because someone else wants it for us. They'll tell us we need to work on making it happen. Before you start living someone else's dreams, I want you to ask yourself if you consider that person's desire important. Do their goals help to serve larger goals of yours? If the answer is no, you'll have some thinking to do. Is this a goal you can renegotiate? Is the relationship to that person one that you still need? Why is this person in a position to dictate so much of what you're doing that doesn't align with your own goals? Is it time to change that? This is no easy series of questions to answer, and it shouldn't be. Your goals are among the most sacred things you can keep track of, and you should have a clear mind and purpose when it comes to achieving them. Remember, your task list should contain items that serve your goals, so that the points you get for getting them done represent progress you've made toward the important goals of your life. Lastly, there are non-goal serving tasks. These are the items we can't get out of having to do. It doesn't matter that they don't directly serve any big goal of ours. They continue to hang out on our lists. If you're willing to put in the intellectual work, you might be able to trace a very circuitous route from any task to one of your goals. But save yourself the pain and simply ask yourself this question: can I trace a quick and direct route between this task and one of my larger goals? If the answer is no, it's a non-goal serving task, and try like hell to get out of it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm telling you to flake on a commitment. If you're having second thoughts, it's likely you shouldn't have committed to it in the first place. However, what's done is done. What cutting non-goal serving goals out of your life means that it should simply be deprioritized, delegated, or renegotiated. You can get out of non-goal serving tasks. It just takes a strength of character to stand up for yourself and say no. Often, non-goal serving tasks can be imposed on us by our families or work friends, and it's an art form to get out of them. However, with time and patience, you'll get better at it. You can also get better at another approach to this problem: becoming more open-minded about your goals. There may be things that your friends or family have you doing that seem like they get in the way of your goals rather than serving them. But part of a fulfilling life is building and enriching relationships with people. So some portion of your goals needs to involve that. When that happens, it becomes easier to prioritize things you're doing for others, because those things do, after all, serve an important goal of yours. This unit was all about reflection. You learned how reflection is important in prioritization. We set up a simple spreadsheet with pointed questions to help you track your progress and understand ways you can improve. We learned about topics to cover in weekly reflection sessions and how to prioritize your tasks as you reflect on the week ahead. Before we conclude this course, I want you to complete one last task, so grab your notebook and a pen. I want you to just take a look at your calendar. What do your meetings say about your priorities for the week? Are there tasks that you've missed that will likely lead to drop ins? Grounding yourself in your calendar can help you anticipate tasks that can come up, planning appropriately for them to avoid drop ins. Next, I want you to scope out any free time that you have and block it as focus time to help you accomplish your tasks. Maybe you just want to spend 20 minutes reading your email. Perhaps it's taking 30 minutes to finish a presentation. Whatever it is, just make sure to block it. This will become second nature, turning from a push task to a pull task with consistent practice. In the next unit, we'll wrap up. How to increase your productivity one day at a time. Congratulations on completing the Today system. How to increase your productivity one day at a time. I hope that you learned more about how personal productivity systems can help you improve your prioritization and feel empowered to take on your tasks using the Today system. Finishing this course is a very important step in your journey. You're taking active steps to improve your productivity, and now it's time to put everything you learned into action. In this course, we covered how to pick the right productivity system. I shared the method behind the Today system and how a simple note card can change your life. Next, we discussed how to handle drop-ins, which are inevitable, no matter how much we plan. Lastly, we discussed the importance of reflection and how it can help you plan and execute better in the future. All of this stuff matters, and I like to say that when you measure what matters, you'll manage it more effectively. All that means is that if you take the time to not only set out your tasks, but measure what's working and what's not, you'll naturally find areas you can improve on. Your productivity will increase simply by looking back at your progress in a measured way. So I encourage you to decide what matters to you and start to measure it and manage it. It's as simple as filling out a card today, but it can change your life. The simplest actions can make the largest ripples, so what are you waiting for? If you'd like to see more of my work, you can visit my website, mikesturm.net, mikesturm.net, and sign up for my newsletter while you're there. You can also connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn, or email me directly. Check out my Medium page for more writing. I cover far more topics than the Today system, but productivity and self-improvement are my passions. Thank you for joining me in this course, and good luck on your journey towards achieving higher levels of personal productivity. I know you can do it.